Imagine a ship adrift in the Atlantic Ocean. Her sails are set, but no one is steering. She's seaworthy, her cargo is intact. There's enough food and water for 6 months. The crew's belongings, their pipes, their clothing, their jewelry are exactly where they left them. But every single person on board is gone. 10 people vanished into the open ocean, leaving behind a ship that had no obvious reason to be abandoned. This is not a story. This actually happened, and most of what you think you know about it is wrong. The Mary Celeste didn't start out with that name. She was built in 1861 in a small shipyard at Spencer's Island, Nova Scotia, and originally christened the Amazon. She was a brigantine, a 2-masted sailing ship about 31 meters long, weighing 282 tons. From the very beginning, she developed an unlucky reputation. Her first captain died of pneumonia 9 days into her maiden voyage. She collided with other vessels twice. She caught fire in a shipyard. She ran aground in a storm. Over her first 11 years, she went through 3 captains, 2 of whom died aboard her. In 1868, the ship was purchased by an American consortium. She was refitted, repaired, and renamed. The Amazon became the Mary Celeste, and for the next few years, she sailed without incident. On October 20, 1872, Captain Benjamin Briggs arrived at Pier 50 on the East River in New York City. He was 37 years old, an experienced and respected mariner, and a part owner of the ship. He had come to supervise the loading of a cargo, 1,701 barrels of industrial alcohol, destined for Genoa, Italy. Briggs was joined by his wife, Sarah, and their 2-year-old daughter, Sophia. This was unusual. Captains rarely brought their families on cargo voyages, but Briggs was a religious man, a known teetotaler, and a careful, deliberate sailor. He wrote to his mother before departure, "Our vessel is in beautiful trim, and I hope we shall have a good passage." On November 7, 1872, the Mary Celeste set sail from New York, bound for Genoa. 10 souls were on board: Captain Briggs, his wife, their daughter, and a crew of 7. They were never seen again.
8 days after the Mary Celeste departed, another brigantine left New York following the same route. She was the De Gracia, a Canadian ship commanded by Captain David Morehouse. Morehouse knew Benjamin Briggs personally. They had dined together before their respective departures. On December 4, 1872, often reported as December 5 due to the lack of standardized time zones in the 19th century, the De Gracia was about 400 miles east of the Azores when her crew spotted another ship in the distance. The ship was behaving strangely. Her sails were partially set, but several were torn. She was yawing, drifting in an irregular pattern, not holding a course. The De Gracia's crew watched her for 2 hours. No one appeared on deck. No distress signals were raised. Captain Morehouse sent his first mate, Oliver DeVoe, and 2 crewmen in a small boat to investigate. They rowed across the swells, tied up alongside, and climbed aboard. What they found has haunted maritime history for over 150 years. The deck was wet. The ship's only lifeboat was gone. A rope trailed from the stern into the ocean, as if someone had towed a boat behind the ship and the line had been cut or broken. DeVoe went below. There were 3.5 feet of water in the hold, a significant amount, but not enough to sink the ship. One of the ship's 2 pumps had been disassembled. The charts were scattered. The captain's bed was soaked through. In the galley, the stove had shifted from its position. But there were no obvious signs of violence, no obvious blood or evidence of a struggle. The cargo of alcohol was almost entirely intact. The crew's personal belongings, their clothing, their pipes, their tobacco, were still in their quarters. And on the mate's desk, the ship's logbook remained open. The last entry was dated November 25, 1872, at 5 in the morning. The ship had been near Santa Maria Island in the Azores. That was 10 days before she was found. In those 10 days, the Mary Celeste had drifted nearly 400 miles with no one aboard.
Before we go further, we need to talk about the myths, because the Mary Celeste story has been told and retold so many times that the fiction has completely overtaken the facts. You've probably heard that the boarding party found a hot meal still on the table, or a half-eaten breakfast, or coffee still warm in the cups, or a cat calmly sitting on the mast. None of this is true. Every single one of those details was invented. The source of most of these myths was a fiction writer named Arthur Conan Doyle, who would later create Sherlock Holmes. In 1884, 12 years after the real event, Doyle published a short story called J. Habakkuk Jepson's Statement in Cornhill magazine. It was a fictionalized account of the Mary Celeste. He even changed the ship's name to Marie Celeste. Doyle's story was so convincing that readers believed it was real. Newspapers picked up the fictional details and printed them as fact. Over the decades, the invented details became part of the official legend. Even today, documentaries and articles repeat them. The truth is strange enough on its own. We don't need the myths.
Captain Morehouse made a fateful decision. Instead of abandoning the derelict ship, he sent DeVoe and a skeleton crew to sail the Mary Celeste to Gibraltar, 800 miles away, to claim her as salvage. They arrived on December 13, 1872. What followed was a salvage hearing that became something more, an investigation into the disappearance. The hearings were led by Frederick Solly Flood, the Attorney General of Gibraltar, and Solly Flood was convinced that a crime had been committed. The court considered multiple theories: mutiny by the Mary Celeste's crew, piracy by the Diagratia's crew, and insurance fraud. A ship surveyor named John Austin examined the vessel and reported finding what he believed were cuts on the bow, possibly from a sharp instrument. He also reported finding what he thought was blood on the captain's sword. But there were problems with the investigation. Austin pointed to a bottle of sewing machine oil found standing upright in the cabin as evidence that the ship had not been in a severe storm because the bottle hadn't tipped over. What he failed to consider was that the bottle might have been placed there after the storm by whoever had last been aboard. Solly Flood pushed hard for a criminal finding, but the evidence wouldn't cooperate. No convincing evidence of foul play was found. In the end, the court awarded the Diagratia's crew a salvage payment, but it was far lower than expected, only about a sixth of the ship's value. The suspicion that something wasn't right hung over the proceedings, even if no one could prove what.
Over the next 150 years, the theories would multiply. Let's look at the most credible ones. Number 1. Alcohol fumes. The cargo was industrial alcohol, denatured ethanol. When the barrels were unloaded in Genoa, 9 of the 1,701 barrels were found empty. It's possible that alcohol leaked from those barrels and the fumes accumulated in the hold. Captain Briggs had never transported alcohol before. If he smelled fumes or heard the barrel shifting, he may have feared an explosion. Number 2. The faulty pump. When DeVoe boarded the ship, he found one of the 2 pumps disassembled and 3.5 feet of water in the hold. There was also a sounding rod, a tool used to measure water depth in the bilge, left lying on the deck. One theory suggests that Briggs, or a crew member, checked the water level, got a false reading because of the broken pump, and panicked, believing the ship was sinking. If Briggs believed the ship was going down and they were near the Azores, only about 6 miles from Santa Maria Island according to the last log entry, abandoning ship might have seemed like the reasonable thing to do. They may have intended to tow the lifeboat behind the ship or wait nearby until the danger passed, but the rope broke or the weather turned and the lifeboat was lost with everyone in it. Number 3. Weather. The ship had battled heavy weather for 2 weeks before reaching the Azores. The disarray below decks could all be explained by a severe storm. But if the weather was the cause, why abandon a ship that was still afloat and seaworthy? Number 4. Piracy or mutiny. But there was no sign of violence. The cargo was intact. Personal belongings, including valuable jewelry, were untouched. Pirates don't usually leave treasure behind. Each theory explains something. None of them explains everything.
The Mary Celeste remains the most famous ghost ship in history. 10 people, a captain, his wife, their 2-year-old daughter, and 7 crewmen vanished from a seaworthy ship in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. They left behind their belongings, their cargo, and a ship that could have saved them. Captain Benjamin Briggs, 37. Sarah Elizabeth Briggs, his wife. Sophia Matilda Briggs, 2 years old. Albert C. Richardson, first mate, 28. Andrew Gilling, second mate, 25. Edward W. Head, steward and cook, 23. Volkert Lorenzen, 29. Bowles Lorenzen, Ariane Martins, Gottlieb Goodshot. The Mary Celeste herself continued to sail for another 13 years, always carrying the stigma of her ghostly reputation. In 1885, her captain deliberately wrecked her off the coast of Haiti in an insurance fraud scheme. In 2001, wreckage believed to be the Mary Celeste was identified on the sea floor near Haiti. But the 10 people who abandoned her on that December morning in 1872 were never found. This has been Dark Hour. If this story left you with more questions than answers, subscribe, because next week we go even deeper.